The world is my oyster.
Fight fire with fire.
Love is blind.
In a pickle.
For goodness sake.
To thine own self be true.
Off with his head, naked truth. What's done? Who's there? Break the ice.
Green-eyed monster.
Heart of gold.
The world is my oyster.
Fight fire with fire.
Love is blind.
In a pickle.
For goodness sake.
To thine own self be true.
Off with his head, naked truth. What's done is done.
Brave new world.
The 2024 Shakespeare Showcase.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Well, as they said, welcome to the 2024 Shakespeare Showcase. And as we started with some of Shakespeare's words which are in our current lexicon. And so we're going to start this evening exploring Shakespeare's sonnets. A sonnet is a 14-line poem. And in this 14-line poem, there are 3 quatrains. A quatrain is a set of 4 lines. And with these quatrains, they have an A-B rhyme scheme. So you have the first line rhyming with the third line, and you have the second line rhyming with the fourth line in each one of those quatrains. And then you have a couplet, which gets us to 14. So you have 4, 4, 4, 12, plus 2, and that's the couplet. Now, in Shakespeare's writing, Shakespeare writes in what we call iambic pentameter. And that means that an iamb is 2 syllables. So there are 10 syllables, which means there are 5 iambs per line. That's why it's iambic pentameter. So it's sort of like a human heartbeat. And that underlies the speech of Shakespeare. So in Shakespeare's sonnets, he explores a few different things: the brevity of life, love, and lust within these poems. And so the first of his sonnets, sonnet 1 through sonnet 17, Shakespeare is encouraging procreation so that your beauty and your attributes can be sent into another generation. And so to start us off this evening with sonnet 17 is singer Luis Ordonez. Give him a hand as he comes.
Luis Ordonez, Sonnet 17. Who will believe my verse in time to come, if it were filled with your most high deserts? Though yet heaven knows it is but as a tomb, which hides your life and shows not half your parts. If I could write the beauty of your eyes, and in fresh numbers number all of your graces, the age to come would say, this poet lies. Such heavenly touches ne'er touched earthly faces. So should my papers, yellowed with their age, be scorned like old men of less truth than tongue, and your true rights be termed a poet's rage, and stretched meter of an antique song. But were some child of yours alive that time, you should live twice, in it and in my rhyme.
So that was sonnet 17, and as he concluded, he said, you should live twice, in it and in my rhyme. So in Shakespeare's poetry, he is capturing forever the beauty of the person that he's discussing. And he says, if you have a child, the beauty can also be seen in your child. And therefore, people will not scorn my writing when the pages have turned yellow. And so next, we have up Zanila Roberson. She's going to be performing Sonnet 18. And this one, many of you know the first line of Sonnet 18. It's, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So give her a hand as she comes.
Zanila Roberson, Sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day. Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's leaves have all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Scene.
So long lives this, and this gives life to thee. The this, of course, being the poetry. So long lives this, and this gives life to thee. That was Anila Roberson. Earlier this year, we had 2 of our students compete in a Shakespearean competition that was held off campus. And these 2 young people, one in the 9th grade, one in the 10th grade, held their own against students from across the state of New Jersey presenting Shakespeare. And we hope to continue that tradition because I think they got a lot out of it, and it was just a beautiful experience. And so I invited them to join us this evening. This is typically just the 11th and the 12th graders, but here representing the 10th grade is Isabella Acosta, and she's going to be performing Sonnet 27.
Isabella Acosta, Sonnet 27. Weary with toil, I haste me to my bed, the dear repose for limbs with travel tired. But then begins a journey in my head to work my mind when body's works expired. For then my thoughts, from far where I abide, intend a zealous pilgrimage to thee, and keep my drooping eyelids open wide, looking on darkness, which the blind do see. Save that my soul's imaginary sight presents thy shadow to my sightless view, which like a jewel hung in ghastly night makes black night beauteous in her old face new. Lo thus, by day my limbs, by night my mind, for thee and for myself, no quiet find. Scene.
Marcus Irving, Sonnet 32. If thou survive my well-contended day, when that churl death my bones with dust shall cover, and shall by fortune once more resurvey these poor rude lines of thy deceased lover. Compare them with the bettering of the time, and though they be outstripped by every pen, reserve them for my love, not for their rhyme, exceeded by the height of happier men. O then vouchsafe me this loving thought, had my friend's muse grown with this growing age, a dearer birth than this his love hath brought to march in ranks of better equipage. But since he died, and poets better prove, theirs for their style, I'll read his for his love. Scene.
Daniel Perdomo, Sonnet 63. Against my love shall be as I am now, with time's injurious hand crushed and o'erworn. When hours have drained his blood and filled his brow with lines and wrinkles. When his youthful morn have traveled onto age's steepy night, and all those beauties whereof now he's king are vanishing, or vanished out of sight. stealing away the treasure of his spring. For such a time do I now fortify against confounding age's cruel knife, that he shall never cut from memory my sweet love's beauty, though my lover's life. His beauty shall in these black lines be seen, and they shall live, and he in them still green. Scene.
Maria Ray, Sonnet 65. Since brass, nor stone, nor earth, nor boundless sea, but sad mortality o'ersways their power, how with this rage shall beauty hold a plea, whose action is no stronger than a flower? Oh, how shall summer's honey breath hold out against the wrathful siege of battering days, when rocks impregnable are not so stout, nor the gates of steel so strong, but time decays? Oh, fearful meditation, where, alack, shall time's best jewel from time's chest lie hid? Or what strong hand can hold his swift foot back? Or who his spoil of beauty can forbid? Oh, none, unless this miracle have might, that in black ink may my love still shine bright. Scene.
Gabriel de Jesus, Sonnet 71. No longer mourn for me when I am dead. Then you shall hear the surly, sullen bell give warning to the world that I am fled from this vile world with the vilest worms to dwell. Nay, if you read this line, remember not the hand that writ it, for I love you so that in your sweet thoughts will be forgot, if thinking on me should make you woe. Oh, I say, if you look upon this verse when I perhaps compounded am with clay, do not so much as my poor name rehearse, but let your love, even with my life, decay, lest the wise world should look into your moan and mock you with me after I am gone. Sing.
Okay, so that was 1/3 of tonight's performance. And again, that was the Shakespearean Sonnets. The last gentleman that you saw was the other PA student that represented us at the Shakespearean Festival, and Gabe is in the 9th grade, so let's give him a hand. Okay, so we're moving on from the Shakespearean Sonnets and we're moving into the soliloquies. The soliloquies can be likened to a monologue. However, in a lot of Shakespeare's soliloquies, the character is speaking his or her thoughts aloud. And so they're not interacting with any particular person. That is in some of the soliloquies, particularly in plays like Hamlet. Hamlet is often thinking aloud. That's where we have the famous to be or not to be. And he's essentially saying to exist or not to exist. That is the question. He's in a moment of contemplation, of having some suicidal ideations when he says that. So he again is alone, but then there are some soliloquies when the characters are speaking directly to other characters, and it's considered a soliloquy because it is a long discourse of thought. So it's not dialogue at that moment. One character is predominantly speaking and the other character is listening and receiving his or her words. So now we move into the soliloquies. And the first soliloquy that you're going to see is from a play called Measure for Measure. In this play, there is a young man named Claudio who commits an act of sexual indiscretion. And so he is now imprisoned. And Angelo is the one who presides over the prison. And Claudio's sister, Isabel, comes to plead on his behalf, wanting her brother to be released. And during that course of time, Angelo says, okay, there is a way that he can be released. he can be released if you're willing to yield your body up to me. And so he propositions her, and then she threatens to tell the whole world about this proposal. And then this is where he comes in. So back to the stage once again is Gabe De Jesus. Give him a hand as he comes.
Who will believe thee, Isabel? My unsoiled name, the austereness of my life, my vouch against you, and my place in the state, will so your accusation overweigh that you shall stifle in your own report and smell of calumny. I have begun, and now I give my sensual race the rein. Fit thy consent to my sharp appetite. Lay by all nicety and prolicious blushes that banish what they sue for. Redeem thy brother by yielding up thy body to my will, or else he must not only die the death, but thy unkindness shall his death draw out to lingering sufferance. Answer me tomorrow, or by the affection that now guides me most, I'll prove a tyrant to him. As for you, say what you can. My false, always your true. Scene.
Okay, again, that was Measure for Measure, and we're remaining in that play for the next soliloquy. And as I said to you, there's a character by the name of Isabel who comes to plead on the behalf of her brother. Her brother's name is Claudio. So in this particular soliloquy, we're going to hear from Claudio. This is after Isabel has visited Angelo, and Claudio wants to know what came of that conversation. Am I going to receive a release? And the sister basically says that the only way that Angelo was willing to release you would be if I were to yield to my body. And I know that because you are such a man of character and honor, you wouldn't want that. But we'll see what Claudio says here. All right, Claudio is up.
Daniel Perdomo, Claudio from Measure for Measure, Act 3, Scene 1. Death is a fearful thing, to die and go we know not where, to lie in cold obstruction and to rot. This sense of a warm motion to become a kneaded clod, and the delighted spirit to bathe in fiery floods, or to reside in thrilling region, a thick-ribbed ice, to be imprisoned in the viewless winds and blown with restless violence round about the pendant world, or to be worse than worst of those that lawless and uncertain thought. Imagine howling. 'Tis too horrible. The weariest and the most loathed worldly life that age, ache, penury, and imprisonment can lay on nature is a paradise to what we fear of death. Sweet sister, let me live. What sin you do to save a brother's life? Nature dispenses with the deed so far that it becomes a virtue. Scene.
We saw what Claudio thought of that proposal. He says, nature will dispense of that sin. And what sin you do to save a brother's life, nature will consider a virtue. So he didn't act as nobly as Isabel thought he would. And we'll see in a different scene later on as we move into scenes when Isabel goes to Angelo to plead on her brother's behalf. But keeping it moving, we now move to the play Hamlet, a play that has been studied the world over by psychology students, philosophy students, of course theater students, because it deals with the deepest human emotions, from our highest joys to our deepest sadness. And so in this particular piece that you're going to see, Hamlet is talking to a group of players. That's the name that they use for actors in Shakespeare's day. So in the piece, in the beginning, Hamlet is visited by a ghost. And this is actually his father's ghost, which gives him some information about how he actually died. And so he was murdered at the hands of his brother, Hamlet's uncle. And now Hamlet's uncle is married to his mother. Okay, I know, complex. So Hamlet, in getting this visitation from the ghost, needs to assure himself that the information that he received is accurate. So what he comes up with is a plan to reenact the details of the murder that he received from the apparition. The apparition told him exactly how he passed. So he plans to put on this performance in front of his mother and his uncle, and he wants to read his uncle's behavior to see how he reacts when he reenacts this murder. And then he'll know for sure that his uncle did this, and then he can take vengeance. So, as he's talking to these actors are not quite playing out the roles as he would imagine, and so he gives them an acting lesson. Hamlet.
Louis Ordonez, Hamlet from Hamlet. Act 3, Scene 2. Speak the speech, I pray you, as I have pronounced it to you, trippingly on the tongue. But if you mouthed it as many of our players do, I had as sleep the town crier spoke my lines. Nor do not saw the air too much with your hand thus, but use all gently. For in the very torrent, tempest, and as I may say, whirlwind of your passion, you must acquire and beget a temperance that may give it smoothness. Oh, it offends me to the soul to hear a robustious, periwig-pated fellow tear a passion to tatters, to very rags, to split the ears of the groundlings who, for the most part, are capable of nothing but inexplicable dumb shows and noise. I would have such a fellow whipped for overdoing termagant. It out Herod's Herod. Pray you, avoid it. Be not too tame neither, but let your own discretion be your tutor. Suit the action to the word to the action. With this special observance that you overstep not the modesty of nature, for anything so overdone is from the purpose of playing, whose end both at the first and now was and is to hold as 'twere the mirror up to nature, to show virtue her own feature, scorn her own image, and the very age and body of the time his form and pressure. Sing.
So a lot of the acting advice that Hamlet gives to the players, we still continue to this day. Even when he says, and do not saw the air too much with your hands. Of course, you don't want an actor to over-gesture. And he says, speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounced it to you, trippingly on the tongue. Diction remains important in the field of acting. Okay, we move forward, and now we go to another famous play. This is Romeo and Juliet. So, in this particular soliloquy, we find Juliet pleading with the friar. The friar married her and Romeo in secret. So the families don't know about it. The Capulets and the Montagues, which are warring families. They really don't like each other at all. But their kids have gotten married in secret. Now, the Capulets planned for Juliet to marry a young man named Paris, who's a count. And so they've told her that this coming Thursday she will be marrying Paris. And of course she's already married. And so she goes to the friar for some counsel. And if his counsel fails, she has already made up in her mind what she's going to do if she has to surrender to marrying Paris. So here to perform Juliet is Bria Ray.
Bria Ray, Juliet from Romeo and Juliet, Act 4, Scene 1. Tell me not, friar, that thou hearest of this, unless thou tell me how I may prevent it. If in thy wisdom thou canst give no help, do thou but call my resolution wise, and with this knife I'll help it presently. God, join my heart in Romeo's. Thou our hands, and ere this hand by thee to Romeo's sealed shall be a label to another deed, or my true heart with treacherous revolt turn to another, this shall slay them both. Therefore, out of thy long experienced time, give me some present counsel. Or behold, twixt my extremes and me and this bloody knife shall play the umpire, arbitrating that which thy commission of thy years and art could to no issue of true honor bring. Be not so long to speak, I long to die. If what thou speakest speak not of remedy. Scene.
All right, and I'm sure you gathered from that Juliet's plan was to take herself out if she can't get some better counsel and a better solution to this entanglement she finds herself in. Okay, so now we move to another popular play, and this is Richard III. And in Richard III, we have this villainous character who has a deformity, who has actually murdered a few different people within the piece. And at this point, we see him being confronted by Lady Anne after his hand has bloodied one of the kings. And so to perform this piece is Isabella Acosta. This was the piece that she presented while we were in competition. So give her a hand as she comes up.
Isabella Acosta, Lady Anne, from King Richard III. Act 1, Scene 2. Foul devil, for God's sake, hence, and trouble us not. For thou hast made the happy earth thy hell, filled it with cursing cries and deep exclaims. If thou delight to view thy heinous deeds, behold this pattern of thy butcheries. Oh, gentlemen, see that Henry's wounds open their congealed mouths and bleed afresh. Blush, blush, thou lump of foul deformity, for 'tis thy presence that exhales this blood from cold and empty veins where no blood dwells. Thy deeds, inhuman and unnatural, provoke this deluge most unnatural. O earth, which this blood drinks, revenge his death. O God, which this blood makes, revenge his death. Either heaven, lightning strike the murderer dead, or earth, gape open wide and eat him quick. As thou dost swallow up this good king's blood, which his hell-gathered armed hath butchered. Scene.
So we move forward now to Henry VIII. And here in this piece, Queen Catherine is confronting the king who wants to dispose of her after all her years of commitment. And she now confronts him. And as she's confronting him, it almost seems like a contemporary speech. You can imagine a woman right now in today's time saying the very same things that she's about to say. So here to perform Queen Catherine is Zanila Roberson.
Zanila Roberson, Queen Catherine from Henry VIII, Act 2, Scene 4. In what have I offended you? What cause hath my behavior given to your displeasure that thus you should proceed to put me off and take your good grace from me? Heaven witness, I have been to you a true and humble wife, at all times to your will conformable, ever in fear to kindle your dislike, yet subject to your countenance, glad or sorry as I saw it inclined. When was the hour I ever contradicted your desire? Or made it not mine too? Or which of your friends have I not strove to love, although I knew he were mine enemy? What friends of mine that had to him deride your anger did I continue in my liking? Nay, gave notice he was from thence discharged. Sir, call to mind that I have been your wife in this obedience upward of 20 years, and have been blessed with many children by you. If in the course and process of this time you can report and prove it too against mine honor ought, my bond to wedlock, or my love and duty against your sacred person, in God's name, turn me away. Scene.
On to the very last of our soliloquies. So we mentioned earlier Richard, and this character Richard has a deformity. He has a deformity because he actually had a breech birth. He came out feet first. And so this character is seen with this deformity throughout the play, a villain, one of the characters that a lot of people covet to play because it's such a fun character. And in this particular piece, this is right after Richard has killed someone who stood in the way of him having the power that he desires, that he thirsts for. And so after this, he begins to talk to the people regarding this slaying. So, here to perform Richard, Marcus Irving.
Marcus Irving, Richard from King Henry VI, Act 5, Scene 6. What? Will the aspiring blood of Lancaster sink in the ground? I thought it would have mounted. See how my sword weeps for the poor king's death? Oh, may such purple tears be always shed from those who wish the downfall of our house. If any spark of life be yet remaining, down, down to hell, and say, I send thee thither. I that have neither pity, love, nor fear. Indeed, 'tis true that Henry told me of, for I have often heard my mother say that I came into the world with my legs forward. Had I not reason, think you, to make haste and seek their ruin that usurp our right? The midwife wondered, and the women cried, Oh, Jesus bless us, he's born with teeth. And so I was, which plainly signified that I should snarl and bite and play the dog. Well, since the heavens have shaped my body so, let hell make crooked my mind to answer it. Scene.
Since the heavens have shaped my body so, let hell make crook my mind to answer it. What a line, right?
Horrible. That is tragic.
Right. What a villainous line. And you know that some people feel like that. If they get a set of harsh circumstances, it alters the way that they think about life and the way that they think about themselves, certainly for that character. Okay, so we move to the final portion of the evening, and that is exploring Shakespearean scenes. So we're taking short snippets from some of Shakespeare's works and presenting them. And the first one that you're going to see is a play called Twelfth Night. And so in the opening of Twelfth Night, a young woman by the name of Viola and her brother Sebastian have been shipwrecked in this country called Illyria. And she is unsure if her brother has actually survived. She doesn't find that out till later on in the play. In order for her to survive in this new land, she takes on a disguise as a guy, and she begins to serve this duke called Orsino. But before all of that happens, she's talking with a captain, someone who was also on the waters the day that the ship was shipwrecked. And through this conversation, she finds some degree of encouragement regarding her brother. Also, you find out what she's going to do while she's in Illyria to survive until she can make her way back home. So here to perform Viola and Captain are Bria Ray and Daniel Perdomo.
What country, friends, is this?
This is Illyria, lady.
And what should I do in Illyria? My brother, he is in Elysium.
It is perchance that you yourself were saved.
Oh, my poor brother. And so perchance may he be.
True, madam. And to comfort you with chance, assure yourself, after our ship did split, when you and those poor numbers saved with you hung on our driving boat, I saw your brother, most provident in peril, bind himself, courage and hope both teaching him the practice to a strong mast that lived upon the sea, where, like Arion on the dolphin's back, I saw him hold acquaintance with the waves so long as I could see.
For saying so, there's gold. My own escape unfoldeth to my hope, where to thy speech serve with thy authority the like of him. Knowest thou this country?
Aye, madam. Well, for I was bred and born not 3 hours' travel from this very place.
Who governs here?
A noble duke, in nature as in name,
What is his name?
Orsino.
Orsino. I have heard my father name him. He was a bachelor then.
And so is now, or was so very late. For but a month ago I went from hence, and then 'twas fresh in murmur, as you know, what great ones do, the less will prattle of, that he did seek the love of fair Olivia,
What's she?
a virtuous maid, the daughter of a count that died some 12 months since, then leaving her in the protection of his son, her brother, who shortly also died. For whose dear love, they say, she hath abjured the sight and company of men.
Oh, that I served that lady. I might not leave the world till I had made my own estate mellow, what my estate is.
That were hard to compass, because she will admit no kind of suit. No, not the Duke's.
There is a fair behavior in thee, Captain, and though thy nature with the beauteous wall doth of close and pollution, yet of thee, I will believe thou hast a mind that suits with this thy fair and outward character. I pray thee, and I'll pay thee bounteously. Conceal me what I am, and be my aid. For such disguise as haply shall become the form of my intent, I'll serve this Duke. It may be worth thy pains, for I can sing and speak to him in many sorts of music. Thou allow me very worth his service. What else may hap, to time I will commit.
Be you his eunuch, and your mute I'll be. When my tongue blabs, then let mine eyes not see.
I thank thee. Lead me on.
Earlier, the character said, what great ones do, in terms of great people, what great ones do, the less will prattle of, the less, or people who are not in that position will talk about. And that still holds true today. People who are at the higher echelons of society, people who are underneath discuss, talk about them. So there's not a whole lot of difference between patterns of behavior now and patterns of behavior then. There's just some antiquated speech, but the same basic human emotions, same wants and desires. Okay, so we move forward now. Earlier we explored Measure for Measure, and you saw soliloquies from that play. Now you will see the encounter between Isabel and Angelo, when Isabel goes to visit Angelo on behalf of her brother, trying to get a pardon for her brother. But this is when she is propositioned. So here to bring that scene for us is Zanila Roberson and Louis Ordonez.
You seemed of late to make the law a tyrant, and rather prove the slighting of your brother a merriment than a vice.
Oh, pardon me, my lord. It oft falls out. To have what we would have, we speak not what we mean. I something do excuse the thing I hate for his advantage that I dearly love.
We are all frail.
Else let my brother die. If not a fettery, but only he, and succeed thy weakness.
Nay, women are frail too.
Eyes the glasses where they view themselves, which are as easy broke as they make forms. Women, help heaven mend their creation mar and profiting by them. They call us 10 times frail, for we are as soft as our complexions, and credulous to false prints.
I think it's well. And from this testimony of your own sex, since I suppose we are made to be no stronger than faults may shake our frames, let me be bold. I do arrest your words, be that you are, that is, a woman. If you be more, you are none. If you be one, as you are, well expressed by all external warrants, show it now by putting on the destined livery.
I have no tongue but one. Gentle, my lord, let me entreat you speak the former language.
Plainly conceive, I love you.
My brother did love Juliet, and you tell me he shall die for it.
You shall not, Isabel, if you give me love.
I know your virtue hath a license, and which seems a little fouler than it is to pluck on others.
Believe me, on mine honor, my words express my purpose.
Ha! Little honor to be much believed, and most pernicious purpose. Seeming, I will proclaim thee, Angelo, look for it. Sign me present pardon for my brother, or with an outstretched throat, I'll tell the world aloud what man thou art.
Who will believe thee, Isabel? My unsoiled name, the austereness of my life, my vouch against you, and my place if the state will soil your accusation or a way that you shall stifle in your own report and smell of calumny. I have begun, and now I give my sensual race the rein. Fit thy consent to my sharp appetite, laid by all nicety and prolicious blushes that banish what they sue for. Redeem thy brother by yielding up thy body to my will, or else he must not only die to death, but thy unkindness shall hit death shroud to lingering sufferance. Answer me tomorrow, or by the affection that now guides me most, I'll prove a tyrant to him. As for you, say what you can, my false, or ways your true.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this, who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths that bear the one and the selfsame tongue, either of condemnation or of proof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite to follow as it draws. I'll tell my brother, though he hath fallen by prompture of the blood, yet hath he in him such a mind of honor, that had he 20 heads to tender down on 20 bloody blocks, he'd yield them up before his sister should her body stoop to such abhorred pollution. Then Isabel lived chaste, and brother died. More than our brothers are chastity. I'll tell him yet of Angelo's request, and fit his mind to death for his soul's rest. Scene.
Okay, so now we move to the last scene of the evening. We're going to get you out of here early. So we go back to Romeo and Juliet. And in this piece, in the beginning, Romeo is having a conversation with his cousin. And this is after the opening of the play, where there is a brief encounter between the Capulets and the Montagues. There's a skirmish in the streets, and the authorities have to come break up that skirmish and everything. And Benvolio runs into Romeo because Romeo wasn't out there during this particular skirmish. And Romeo is lovesick because he is experiencing an unreciprocal love. So there's this beautiful young lady named Rosalind in the beginning of the play that he's head over heels for. And so in this particular piece, Benvolio runs into Romeo while he's dealing with the feelings of not having his feelings reciprocated. So here to perform Romeo and Juliet, welcome back to the stage, Daniel Perdomo and Marcus Urban.
Good morrow, cousin.
Is the day so young?
The news struck 9.
Me. Sad hours seem long. Was not my father that went hence so fast?
It was. What sadness lengthens Romeo's hours?
Not having that which having makes them short.
In love?
Out.
Of love?
Out of her favor, where I am in love.
Alas, that love so gentle in his view should be so tyrannous and rough in proof.
Alas, that love whose view is muffled still, should without eyes see pathways to his will. Or shall we dine? Oh, me, what fray was here? Yet tell me not, for I have heard it all. Here's much to do with hate, but more with love. Why then? Oh, brawling love, oh, loving hate, oh, anything of nothing first create. Oh, heavy lightness, serious vanity, misshapen chaos of well-seeming forms, feather of lead, bright smoke, cold fire, sick health, still waking sleep that is not what it is. This love feel I feel no love in this. Dost thou not laugh?
No, cause I'd rather weep.
Good heart, at what?
At that good heart's oppression.
Why, such is love's transgression. Griefs of mine own lie heavy in my breast, which thou wilt propagate to have oppressed with more of thine. This love that thou hast shown doth add more grief to too much of my own. Love is a smoke raised with the fume of sighs, being purged, a fire sparkling in lovers' eyes, being vexed, a sea nourished with lovers' tears. What is it else? A madness most discreet, a choking gall into preserving sweet. Farewell, my cuz.
Soft, I will go along, and if you leave me so, you do me wrong.
I have lost myself. I am not here. This is not Romeo. He's some other where.
Tell me in sadness who is that you love.
What? Shall I groan and tell thee?
Groan? Why no, but sadly tell me who.
But a sick man in sadness make his will. A word ill urged to one that is so ill. In sadness, cousin, I do love a woman.
I aimed so near when I suppose you loved.
A right good mark, man. And she's fair I love.
A right fair mark, fair cause, is soonest hit.
Well, in that hit you miss. She'll not be hit with Cupid's arrow. She hath Dian's wit. And in strong proof of chastity well armed, from love's weak childish bow, she lives unharmed. She will not stay the siege of loving terms, nor by the encounter of assailing eyes, nor ope her lap to saints seducing gold. Oh, she is rich in beauty, only poor that when she dies, with beauty dies her store.
Then she hath sworn that she will still live chaste?
She hath, and in that sparing makes huge waste. For beauty starved with her severity cuts beauty off from all posterity. She is too fair, too wise, wisely too fair to merit bliss by making me despair. She hath forsworn to love, and in that vow do I live dead to live to tell it now.
Be ruled by me. Forget to think of her.
Oh, teach me how I should forget to think.
By giving liberty unto thine eyes. Examine other beauties.
'Tis the way to call hers exquisite and question more. These happy masks that kiss fair ladies' brows, being black, put us in mind, they hide the fair. He that is stricken blind cannot forget the precious treasure of his eyesight lost. Show me a mistress that is passing fair. What doth her beauty serve but as a note where I may read who passed that passing fair? Farewell. Thou canst not teach me to forget.
I'll pay that doctrine. or else die in debt.
All right, so we rounded it out with Romeo and Juliet. Very powerful lines in that particular piece, and that is the capstone of the evening. And at this time, we're going to welcome our young people back to the stage. Give them a hand as they come. Okay, and so again, the young people that you see on the stage are enrolled in a course entitled Theater Studio. Some of them have been in Theater Studio since the 7th and 8th grade. This is a course for the juniors and the seniors. So a portion of the people on today's stage will be leaving us in June, getting ready to head on to post-secondary goals. And so in May, we're going to come back and we're going to do a contemporary showcase. So I'm sure they're all ready to be done with Shakespeare. And so we're moving on to some contemporary language, which all of us understand, and we'll get a chance to explore that to close out. But one of the things that we do in our performances is prepare for talkback so we can have a circular experience where they have an opportunity to deal with all of the responsibilities of an actor. So people who are performing in the industry, after their shows, they often have to do a talk back where they address questions from the audience, questions about the production, questions about the process, questions about their acting process. So at this time, I'd like them to field a few of those questions, and right after that, we're all going home. You guys can take a seat on the stage. Any questions, any comments that you may have, please ask them at this time. Yes, sir. You can all turn the mics off.
Oh.
To the gentleman with third person to I like the way you were able to, three different individuals that you performed today. You can see the difference between each one of those. How are you able to separate those characters and show the individuality?
Well, when I'm doing each character, I kind of I think about what they're trying to do, and I also make sure to make them different. It's kind of hard to explain, but I just think about how they talk, how they gesture, or how they walk, and I just think about what they're trying to do in that specific scene, and it works out. So, yeah.
Good question. Keep them coming.
Mine's just a comment. I just want to say good job. As well as a nice job doing each one of your parts of Shakespeare.
Thank you.
Did you all ask to be a part of this, or did you choose to be a part of this? Because Shakespeare can be difficult. So was this something that you really volunteered? I'm feeling this energy, or did your teacher say, yeah, you're going to be in the show, this is what we're going to do? Because this can be a difficult piece, especially because of the language. But you all did a great job. I'm so proud of you.
I volunteered to be in this showcase, because this showcase is only for the seniors and juniors. But since, as Mr. Miller mentioned, there was a competition that me and a freshman gave participated in where we had to do Shakespeare. So Mr. Miller and me and Gabe thought it would be good to have take this opportunity to have gain the experience.
Part two to the question the young lady raised. This is such a heavy, dark topic, Tragic indeed. How do you separate that and not take it home with you at the end of your performance? Any one of you.
Okay. So one thing to help us get more comfortable with the parts we do is just imagine like it's not us acting, it's the character, I'm doing the acting. So if you think about it in a sense like this isn't me on the stage, this is Benvolio or this is Romeo, it helps to be able to not carry those emotions off stage.
Good answer.
What Marcus said, even though we had to separate ourselves when we're practicing with it and we're like practicing with Mr. Miller also doesn't allow us to say the character's name, we have to say we. So, but that's how we get into character. But at the end of the day, it's not us really acting. It's we become a whole different person when we get on the stage. And we get off, we leave it on the stage.
I have a question.
There's a man in the back.
I'm sorry.
There's a man in the back.
Oh, me. I often hear about actors when when they're filming movies or plays, even that they with their fellow actors, they kind of bond together outside the set, and they kind of just stay in character. Is that something you guys practice, or is that something that you're not really at that level yet?
I feel like all of us together are very close. Most of us are in the same class, some of us aren't. But as theater students, we have to come together and do a lot of productions together. So when we have certain productions in the fall, when we have them in the spring, we all have to be together. So we kind of just bond.
Yeah, Mr. Miller always get on our butts because we're always loud, always messing around. But yeah, we get along really well.
I'm also going to answer that. As Bria stated, some of us aren't in the same class. Some of us are. Me and Isabella are. So whenever I'm doing these productions with either the middle school or any other person, I try to build a close connection to that person. So I'm not like, oh, I don't want to work with you. I want to build a strong connection with that person so I'm actually comfortable.
Okay, just to clarify, one of the questions that he was asking was whether or not we engage in method acting so that you don't come out of character, you remain the character that you're portraying. And you, instead of going back to your own particular nuances, your own particular behavior patterns, you stay in that character. And a lot of professional actors do that when they're on set. They don't allow the other actors to call them their real name. They have to address them as that character. So that's method acting. And other actors, as soon as the lights, as soon as they say cut, they go back to themselves. So it's just, it boils down to how you process as an actor. Some actors feel like it's too heavy to constantly be in the headspace of the character. And others feel like I need to stay in that headspace of the character during the filming of this film. Okay, your hand was up.
Yes, I assume that a lot of you all did some other plays, different contemporary plays, right?
Yes.
And I know that Shakespeare is a very, very complex writer who deals with a lot of tension. And understanding the process of it, you as the individual, let's say if I phrase this for Bria, she played Juliet, right? How do you get into that headspace without having the experience? Because I think Romeo and Juliet, the two families at war, and so there's a lot going on with them trying to make this sort of connection. How did you get into something that complex at this early stage of your life?
Okay, what I did to kind of like, get in it, I guess, is you have to do your research, like, at home. Like, you have to understand what's going on, what each character is saying. So it's like, cause it's, it's Old English, it's very different from how we speak now. you kind of have to, what I did was I went to this website, and it like has like translations of like what they're saying in modern English, and that kind of helps you to understand what's going on. And yeah, you just have to do your research, so like you can kind of understand what's happening and you can get in that situation and practice a lot too. So yeah.
Bria? So the question was addressed to you.
Yes. Oh, my apologies. Yeah, kind of what Daniel said, we have a certain website that we use, and it translates it to modern English for us so that we can understand. Also, before we go over what exact scene or act.
And collaborative you guys are. Because I think, I'm going to say contrary to what the question was, I think you guys are a lot more socially aware than what we give you credit for. And so, channeling that understanding of what can be very complex and very difficult situations to deal with are some that you see because you have a lot more access to information than any of us did.
Absolutely.
And so, I'm just really in awe because at the end of the day, with everything else that you guys have on your plates to do, you're able to channel something like this. And I think the one thing that we as your teachers, as your administrators, just as other learners, want you guys to do is use this skill with everything else that you do. Use that resourcefulness, that intuitiveness, that grit that you guys have, that bond that you guys talk about all the time. It's not something that comes easily. Most importantly, this is not what a whole bunch of kids do.
Right, indeed.
Don't lose that. Don't lose that foundation that you have. Because with the access to all of this information that you have, it can sometimes distort the very foundation that you're building, particularly for our graduating seniors. So, salute to you. Another notch on the belt.
And for those who might not know, this is Mr. Sneed. He is our educational leader. So he's the principal. While I'm at that, I want to thank all of my colleagues that are here this evening because school, long day, we have to come back tomorrow. So the very fact that they sacrificed and they came out to support, I want to make sure that I give you guys a hand. If you could just quickly stand if you are on staff here, if you could just quickly stand. I want to thank them, and yes. Okay, we're still going to process that question. And of course, wanted to thank Kathy as well. She is the visual and performing arts supervisor.
Well, I wanted to thank you and for believing in our youth and our children and pushing them, pushing them further, believing that they can do this, regardless of how we as parents may think that, oh, it can be dark and can be this. This is the reality of life today, even though it's a different, we are now, speaking in modern terms, but believing in them that they can do this, these long monologues and these long speeches, they did it wonderfully. And I wanted to thank you for believing in our youth and pushing them further and knowing that they can do this, and presenting all these different types of characters and different types of plays for them. We've seen so many of them play in different other plays, like Bria said, in the spring, or different type of them. Even my daughter. We really thank we thank you for pushing them and giving them this opportunity, just like you brought them to the Shakespeare performing art competition, I should say, and pushing them and believing in them. You can do this. You can do this character. You can do this in different plays that you do. Thank you so much for what you do for our children.
We've had a lot of different conversations in class, and to piggyback off of what Mr. Sneed was just presenting, our primary subject in our class is life. And we're using the lens of theater to better do life. And so Shakespeare says all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players.
Yeah.
We have our entrances, our birth dates, and our exits. And so that span in between, what are we doing on the world's stage? And in order to do anything well, you have to do your research, you have to have a vision. And so we're hoping that small nuggets from these experiences will give our kids a literacy, not just being able to read words on a paper, but being able to better comprehend life as they have to look into Shakespeare's text, break it apart. How do I now break my life apart to look at my patterns? And why do I keep making these decisions? What is it that I'm trying to do with my life? How am I trying to move forward? So we've had a lot of conversations about that, and we hope, everybody up here is vision casting, right? Seeing something clear that we're moving to. Do we have any other questions or comments before we get ready to leave? Mr. Mendoza, did you have one? Okay, all right. Anybody else? Yes.
I think,
Just speak up just a little bit so we hear.
I think basically what a lot of what everyone was saying, I think when you tap into those characters, you can learn from that character. And then also you may, in real life, you may experience people that live a different lifestyle than you.
Exactly.
And I think that compassion that you can learn and sensitivity that you can learn, use that so this way you can understand people well, a little better, and be more social in your lifestyle. Hopefully help you.
You hit the nail on the head. We talked